Welcome, everybody. It is yet again time to see what 1933 New York City has in store for our intrepid investigators. I'm Mark Hustafan, but that's not important. What's truly important are these wonderful beings all around me. So let's just go around and do a quick set of intros, starting off with, Big Suze.
Hi, I'm Big Suze. Susan Sinclair, if you're not a friend. I'm a dog musher from Alaska, and I'm looking forward to getting out on that big ice down south.
Wonderful. And just continuing around, I guess next up would be let's go with Charles. Mrs. Stoddard.
I'm playing Carol Stoddard, paleontologist with some, supporting science and geology and biology, like you do. Professor, explorer, codger. You got him.
And following on from that, we have our next academic in line, Dr. Wigglesworth.
Hello all. Dr. Wigglesworth here, Professor of Geology at Harvard, Curator of the Natural History Museum.
And hiding in the corner at the end, but by no means least, we have our very own intrepid reporter. Who appears to possibly be muted.
Hello, I'm playing Valentina Rousseau, plucky investigative reporter.
So to set the scene again, it's September 1st, 1933. The New Deal passed during the spring, but swarms of unemployed workmen still haunt the streets. Artist and philanthropist Nicholas Roerich is to host a $100 a plate charity dinner for drought-stricken Chinese in 2 weeks, whilst thousands starve in New York State alone. Just down 34th Street, the new Empire State Building looms. A couple of months ago, Primo Carnero knocked out Jack Sharkey here in New York City in 6 rounds to take the heavyweight title. The New York Giants lead the National League. Monopoly is a popular new parlor game. The New York Society for the Suppression of Vice is preparing its friend of the court brief for the upcoming trial, United States versus one book entitled Ulysses. And prohibition may soon be a thing of the past. And tied up on the north side of Pier 74 along the Hudson River, in the shore of New York City, is the SS Gabrielle, stern to the city, a bow to the open sea. And this is where we find our group once I get onto the correct. That's the one I want. The screen. You have all arrived at Pier 74 in more or less civilized rush from the Amherst Hotel where you all checked in earlier this morning. However, I would ask, as you're coming down the street past the Italian Mail building and looking at the warehouse doors at that lead onto the dock itself, how are you traveling as a group? Individually? Together? Taxis? Is somebody driving?
A taxi almost certainly for Dr. Wigglesworth. He doesn't mind company, of course.
I feel like Stoddard is probably also taking a taxi. What is he going to do with his car while he's on the mission? Well, he's in Antarctica. There's no reason to take New York City.
Yeah, same here for Valentina.
I'm probably walking my pack of dogs to New York.
So one, maybe two taxis and a leisurely stroll. It's only about 10 blocks or so, so it's not, well, whilst it's the September Indian heat, it's not too bad. I think I would ask the three of our group who are in the cab first to, as is traditional, start off with a spot hidden roll.
Ooh.
Helped by the captain. Started with that roll. These feeling a little closed in by the tall skyline of New York City. Boston is dense, Arkham is dense, but nothing quite like New York City. And also a bit distracted as you're thinking about the expedition they're about to start and what was found before them and the chance to actually get into that. I rolled 92. I see nothing.
Valentina got a 20, a hard success, so she's very much taking it all in as they approach the Pier 74.
Yep. And Wigglesworth with an 89 over 75, I see. So this does not actually surprise me as a result, because it is Valentino, the eagle-eye reporter, who can't help but notice a few gentlemen hanging around the street, and in one case, quite possibly peering out of a window on the opposite side of the road to number 74's warehouse, that have a very, in her mind, a very distinctive colleague air about them. There's the from the window in particular, there's the glint of a camera lens, and the one of the gentlemen in a rather poorly fitting trench coat standing about half a block down is occasionally seen jotting something down in a notebook, quite possibly very akin to several that she carries.
I'll approach with a greeting. Is this someone that I've met before?
Not this person explicitly, but you immediately recognize reporter. And you.
But we weren't expecting a reporter here, were we?
Well, maybe not immediately, but in all honesty, the last few months since you signed on to the expedition, there has been a groundswell of general interest, the occasional call from a New York reporter seeking Mr. Stoddard while he's out finishing up the dig. People coming to visit the Natural History Museum at odd hours, seemingly more interested in the professor's choice in ties rather than the exhibits they're in. And just sort of, you've noticed a general air of, oh, she's the favorite air at work, as rumor has started to leak out that Valentina was going on the mission itself and was going to come away with the inside scoop.
Does Valentina recognize them at all?
No.
Okay. So we're bringing our bags onto the ship is what we're probably starting to do, right?
You're basically just getting down to the ship to meet up with Dr. Moore, who's apparently working from there, at least today.
Well, since we don't have an appointment, I suppose I won't go in for a formal reading, but I'll just proceed to the ship.
Okay. Well, there's stevedore at the on the door to the dock house. But as soon as you present yourself to him, oh yes, please, yes, just go right in. You can't miss her. And it's about now that Zeus comes walking down the street, surrounded by a pack of white fur.
Is the reporter, like when we arrive in the taxis, is the reporter between us and the gangplank of the ship?
No, the layout is actually out on the street. Is that you pulled up just outside the roadside warehouse. The ship and the pier is on the back end of the warehouse, presumably. The reporters are about half a block down the road, either way, and seemingly one across the way.
Okay. I take my stuff and head on to the ship then. Valentina would.
And you make your way through the warehouse out onto the very busy dock. There's the big cranes that are swinging heavy loads overhead. There's stevedores rushing to and from the warehouse on the center of the dock, up and down the gangplanks with various boxes. The ground is littered with cast-off packing materials and broken glass and all sorts. It's quite a mess. The pier itself runs about 600 feet into the river and is about 80 feet wide. There's the long, narrow cargo shed down the center, 50 foot wide and 30 foot high in the center. There's a railway track that runs along each side of the pier between the shed and the ship, with boxcars standing on it. There's, crews of stevedores around, and there's the cargo cranes lifting things around. You climb up the gangway, dodging various burly maritime types, seemingly in a hurry to walk through you. It's really only with the safety surround of the dogs that you manage to sort of crowd your way up without getting completely run over. Towards the rear end of the midships structure on the main deck floor, you're shown into or directed into the ship's mess hall, where you find Professor Moore standing by a table that's covered in papers, clipboard in one hand, conferring with one of the cargo masters. As you know, he's a small, neat man with great short brown hair, wire-rimmed glasses, trim goatee. Yes, you've arrived, Capital. Good to have you aboard. There's a lot of things to do, of course, so no time like the present. Let's get started. Have you eaten at all? Somebody's some coffee are on the table over there. Take what you like, then go and see Mr. Sykes in the cruise lounge. Right through that door there and down the hall. Yes, one more thing. We'll meet each morning at 8 o'clock in the Rose Room at the hotel. If I don't see you again today, I trust I'll see you there.
Very well. Yes, I will do as directed, taking some coffee and making my way over to our constituents.
Yeah, Stoddard's eating, like he got breakfast. He got something to grab and go, and like, sort of walking the rest of the way up. But he's not a fool. He's gonna grab some coffee, kind of grunts hello, and goes on to the appointed area.
When I go to make my coffee, I like extra sweet and extra creamy. It is all but white when I am done putting it together.
There's a subtle sigh from Professor Moore as you can hear him just sort of quietly to himself, add extra milk powder to stores. And you make your way across down the hallway, past the galley, past the heads, into the officers' lounge, where is a man in his young 30s, well-trimmed moustache, well-cropped black hair, and wearing a ship's pullover. Laid out on the tables in front of him is a huge pile of clothing. Everything from woolen underwear through on up to layers of parkas, hats, gloves. And he says, yes. My name is Peter Sykes. We'll have plenty of time to get to know each other. I'm the first mate of the Gabrielle. Professor Moore asked that as I have some experience of the Arctic climbs, that I help make sure that each of you are fitted out properly for the journey. So if you wouldn't mind just forming a line, and I'll need to take a few measurements, and we'll see what we can find that will fit. And assuming people let him, he's going to basically enter tailor mode and start inside out, build up everybody's cold weather gear. It'll take another day or two to get the your actual gear. This is more just to get a rough size. And the ski shoes and gloves haven't arrived yet, but they should be here by the end of the week. And by the time that you're all standing now more or less Michelin men-like in what is still a warm September day, wearing probably 15 or 20 pounds of extra clothing each, you can't help but long for the cool of the Antarctic.
Well, these will be wonderful once we're in the ice, I'll say.
Oh, they'll save your life, that's for sure.
Yeah, Stoddard is like, he's like, yeah, he's definitely sweltering and he's kind of like, he's clearly not really comfortable, but he's not complete. He's going along with it and like, if he's examining a little bit of it. He's been in survival, in expeditions, so he knows how important this is. So it's sort of that sour discomfort of, yeah, it's too warm for this, but we need it.
Sue's looking down. Her response is, well, it'll be nice to have a second set to go along with the stuff already in my gear.
Valentina would ask the rest of the group if she could snap a quick picture of getting fitted up and stuff like that. Everybody getting their stuff on.
Absolutely. I don't see why not.
Fantastic.
I shouldn't think you need to ask permission, given that you're the main reporter on the job.
It's always be polite.
Well, I do appreciate the respect you're showing, Mr. Shaw. But please, go ahead with your work. Don't let me intrude.
Absolutely. Just snap a couple pictures and have those later.
At this point, Professor Morse does stick his head in and go, Miss Russo. Yeah, you're a step ahead of me. Good to see. I was just about to ask. We would dearly like to have some publicity shots to be able to give to the press. And so if you, I imagine some stage photos around the charts and so forth would be ideal. And over on the other table, there's laid out sea charts and naval book. There's a sextant standing there.
Absolutely. I think I can help with that.
Important question. Are the dogs in the room with us?
Yes, they would be. They're well trained, so they're probably laying in the corner, but they are with us.
So yeah, absolutely. So I imagine that Valentino even goes so far, well, if Susan agrees, to have the group in full gear standing behind the dogs lined up as though they were dragging a sled, but of course without the sled, against the incongruous backdrop of the blandest piece of ship's walls you can find.
The photo is 100% why I asked if the dogs were in here, because I totally wanted them in the photo. I know that there was a comment about there being, was there there was a coffee, but was there any sort of food stuff in the room itself?
Not here in the offices. salon, but back in the ship's mess, yes, there were sandwiches and finger foods and so forth laid out.
So when we went and got coffee and Charles was black, he did grab like something off the tray and has been like if you pay attention to him, he pretends he's not doing it. He's been slipping treats with the dogs.
Nice. Getting in good with the people that really matter for this expedition.
When we get really cold, we know who the dogs are going to be cuddling with.
He's a codger. He won't admit it, but he likes the dogs.
So there's probably an hour or two spent in various photo shoot activities by the time that Valentino gets around to having finished bossing everybody about, being quite possibly the person of least physicality in the room. It's quite interesting to see the dynamic that the lens of a camera lends to somebody. But you all eventually manage to re-robe in your normal street attire. And you've taken some regular day photos as well. The group sitting down over pretend coffee, pointing at the chart as though you actually knew where you were going to go. Scenes like that.
Are these actual charts that we're going to be using?
They appear to be actual sea charts. You're not quite.
Can I give a navigate roll?
Navigate or geography.
I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, Wigglesworth is thoroughly bemused and happy to look over all of the accoutrement with excitement.
Because
I realize that I am sitting at the wrong angle for the charts. I would like to push that roll if I'm okay by moving around closer in order to try to get a better view.
Sure. The risk here merely being that there's a sudden coffee stain on the charts.
No pressure.
Much better.
Okay. In absolutely true journalistic fashion, apparently Valentino has the group navigating around the Malacca Straits outside of Singapore.
Very good.
I don't think these maps are quite right.
Oh, the actual maps are up in the chart room upstairs. Says Mr. Sykes.
Oh, you don't think he'd be so quick to give away trade secrets, do you? Wigglesworth will joke with Big Susan and everybody.
I mean, unless we want to stop for a pad high on the way to the South Pole.
I should think not. But hopefully our journey will go well. Not using these maps, of course. All for the photos. All for the photos.
Yes, I should say the midship section of the Gabrielle is a 3-story structure with a flying bridge over the top of it. So there's the main living quarters, galley, etc. The heads are here on the main section. Going up, there's the doctors and the engineers and the first mate's cabin. Then you come up to the bridge level, which has got the captain's cabin behind it, and the radio room. And you also, once you've been here, you've had a chance to look out, and you've seen the loading operations into the 5 main cargo holds. So the cranes lifting big crates into them. It seems like they're just big open holes. There appears to be ladders going down into them, and you'll see over time that the only really way into the cargo areas is through the loading doors. They have full covers, but there is also when they batten them down, there's a door that opens up over a ladder in a metal tube, essentially, to be able to get down into the holds themselves. But with that, it's about tea time, and Mr. Sykes says, "Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you and getting to know you all, but I have further duties to see to. I need to go and confirm that some of the cargo has actually arrived in the right place and in the right manner. But I'm sure we'll see each other again in the morning at the grand meet."
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Until then.
Yes, thank you for the clothing, Mr. Sykes.
And at this point, another man sticks his head out of one of the cabins just off the officers' mess and says, and with that in mind, if I could just have a moment of each of your time, please. I'm Dr. Green, the ship's physician.
Good afternoon, Dr. Green.
You're basically given a quick, professional, but thorough once over, making notes of any lingering ailments or issues that you may have. But basically, starting off the doctor-patient relationship, as it were. And he's quite glad when somebody does mention that you've also run into Dr. Tremblay, but unfortunately he couldn't make it from the hotel today. He had some personal New York errands to take care of upon arrival. But with that, the afternoon becomes your own.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love to see where the dogs are going to be kept on the ship, so that I can make sure that their yard is nice and proper, because it's going to take months to get down south.
Yeah, well, you go and have a word with Professor Moore. And he says, obviously, if you wish to make alternative arrangements for your animals, that is certainly within your discretion. However, the main pack of expedition dogs are going to be settled into cages in the rear tween deck hold. He directs a I believe that's the one. So right at the stern, right now they haven't actually built the cages yet. But there's you can see they put in metal bars in the hold to sort of mark out the cages so that they'll be really well secured against whatever swell the ship may have. And they appear from where those bars are. They're going to be large cages. We're talking 10-foot square.
You could hold almost an entire team in each one of those.
So yeah, between 4 of them, there should be plenty of room, and they look as though they'll be secure enough that the animals will be safe.
Good. I can let my boys out every day, but it's good to see they have a nice place to stay the night.
Well, they are, after all, an integral part of the expedition. And it's whilst you're down there, Susan, you've actually run into your old buddy Gregor.
Gregor, you ready for this great trip we're about to go on?
Oh, I don't know about ready yet, but it's good to know that the eyes will be calling.
Absolutely. I'm just chomping at the bit to get back out there. All the city life is just giving me so much stress.
It's certainly no place for a civilized human.
You have your team with you, or you get the different one for the expedition?
I've grabbed a dedicated team for the expedition. Mine aren't quite up to the extreme cold.
You're right, Gregor. Anastasia's a sweet dog, but she's not going to be a great lead if it gets too cold.
Yeah, too big a nose for the dry air. So no, we've acquired a set of Siberians.
Wonderful. They're good dogs. I don't usually work with them, but they're good dogs.
They'll do well. I mean, I get that the distances are too far to go everywhere by dog, but I just don't get the need for the planes. Got good dogs.
Good dog will get you anywhere, but straight up.
Yeah, I've heard stories about them mountains. Still.
Yeah. Have to make sure my sled's prepared, because it's going to be rough out there. It looks from what I was seeing that there's going to be pretty rocky in places.
Yeah, well, it's good to know we've got you along. The more good people we have, the less chance we have of getting hit with Starkweather's bad luck.
Absolutely. All that is so dreadfully sad. Hopefully we won't have any of those sort of problems.
Anyhow, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go and start looking at seeing what it will take to get these crates built.
Absolutely, Gregor. If you need any assistance whatsoever, you just have me.
I know where to find you.
Have a good day.
So we have Susan heading off down into, disappearing down into the deep aft hole. Anybody else want to do anything as ship, as it were? Or
Actually, so obviously the actual the official chart seemed to be a little bit under lock and key. There's been some accident notes. I think as Pratt Stoddard's basically making his own crib notes of the previous expedition, and if he's allowed to, he'd like to spend a little time actually looking at. My microphone's the wrong way. Hopefully my sound works better now. I was talking to the back end, and it's directional. So he'll see if he can, obviously in the controlled area of the expedition, take a look at the charts they have, if there's any established routing, how it aligns with what he's been able to study in archives from the previous expedition, and kind of builds out his crib notes. Because he's definitely interested in the potential paleontological finds that we have. Like, we know there's stuff out there. So he's doing his homework.
Absolutely. So if you take a look in the notes portion for New York, you'll find one called Antarctica, which is the handout version pretty much of what you so kindly posted last session in the chat. So that's with the exception that this one actually has the approximate location of Lake's camp marked on it. On the second, so the easternmost sheet up in the Victoria quadrant, at the base of the mountain range. But the Miskatonic expedition came in from Tasmania, so the Australian side, went into Ross's Sea, made camp approximately at the Prince Albert Mountains. Was their base camp. They had the forward camp at Lake. You do go up to the let's see, that would be the chart from, I believe. Yeah, you're taken up to the bridge. So 2 floors up. And they have a chart room to the back, and the second mate gives you the quick rundown of the proposed routing. Sounds like they'll head from here down through the Panama Canal down to Melbourne, rebirth and restock in Melbourne, and then set out from there to Ross Sea. And the chart for those are there and so forth, to the extent that there are any charts of the southern Antarctic waters at this point. But HM Admiralty is remarkable when it comes to making charts, even on the slightest piece of information. You'd think that they had whole departments of people with nothing but drawing up charts as a profession.
So it looks like it does look like the current plans are aligned. We're going to be starting on a similar route.
Yes.
Which he assumed. It's always it's like okay, we've got the notes. What's there? This, he's got his notes about the landmarks. This was something he's very interested in, and he's seeing sort of what we're looking at now. And not that he is. Well, he can do navigation. He's not the sea part. He's like, yep. He's kind of nodding along, like, yep. I totally. This is nothing. I don't do sea charts. It's not like he could do a deep sea expedition.
Yeah, I'll ask him about the conditions of the sea floor and what's beneath it. That's a different story.
There haven't been enough interesting wrecks down there yet to really get him going. He's got some interesting theories about life that might be on. There's a lot of interesting theories about life to be on the ice and under the water, deeper below. But equipment limited. We're going to be focused on what's on the ice here and what's in the mountains.
Exactly, and I mean, if one can believe the accounts, what Lake and company found was exceedingly remarkable. Just a pity that nothing survived the journey home.
If a fraction of what they said is even true, this journey's worth it. Those fines are. If we can confirm what even half of what they reported would have been incredible. I can't miss this one.
Speaking of missing this one, go ahead, since you're up on the bridge, go ahead and make a spot hidden. Oh, perfect. So, whilst Charles is standing around up on the bridge, sort of just looking out and getting a sense of the scale of the 400-foot ship, he's out, or at least towards the side of the flying bridge, which has an area outside that overhangs the side of the ship, so that when it's maneuvering in port, the officer of the deck can see what's actually going on. And of course, interestingly, so he's looking out over the port side, which of course, interestingly here, the way the Gabrielle is moored up, she's actually moored up on her starboard side, just to be confusing. But you're looking out over the side, and you see something that you probably weren't expecting, which is a small launch, really just a rowing jolly boat, so must be all of 8 foot, with a man in a heavy set of oilskins at the oars, rowing up towards the edge of the ship, with a passenger on board on the aft bench, a man in a pale tan worsted suit, matching fedora, who's trying desperately to keep his balance in this very small and rickety craft, as he's standing up with some sort of contraption on a pole that he seems to be trying to get close to one of the lower portholes of the ship.
So I assume that there's a mate or a captain in here with me. Sir, there's that's not part of our ship. Our ship setup, is it? Point out because again, boats aren't his thing. This does not look like this seems a little too clownish or weird reporter stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the mate looks out and spits out some chewing tobacco in its approximate direction, but of course it falls way short. And he goes, "Oh, that's just one of them reporter fellows trying to get a look in through to see what we're up to. They've been hounding us around, but they're like mosquitoes. They do no harm. Just as long as they don't fall in the water. I'd hate to have to waste a life buoy on somebody like that."
Sounds like you got it under control then. They can really be quite persistent, can they?
Well, the word from Mr. Starkweather is to leave them be, and what's his phrase? Even bad publicity is publicity. I don't claim to understand it myself, but as long as they don't scratch the paint.
All right then.
So that's Mr. Stoddard. How about Valentino? Where's she likely to be putting her nose, as it were?
Valentino is not familiar with boats at all, so she was going to familiarize herself with the layout of the ship, but also kind of go up to the front of the ship and kind of check on the reporters she saw up there and just kind of make sure they weren't up to shenanigans.
Quite right. So heading up forward on the main deck. There is on the main deck. There's a set of cabins, both aft and forward. But there's the set of stairs that essentially leads up to the deck. That's the roof of the cabin, so you can get to the bow. And everything looks copacetic as far as you can tell. Although, whilst you're up there, go ahead and make a listen roll. Okay. Yep. No, there's a lot of noise going on. It's loud. There's the machinery of the cranes. There's the banging of cargo being handled down in the holds, echoing up. So it's quite cacophonous to some respects, but in some respects also oddly comforting. There's knowing that there's certainly work being done.
All right.
And of course, our esteemed professor.
Well, besides the orders that I've been given, I suppose really he's looking to enjoy himself as much as possible before the real work gets started. I don't believe he's been to New York before, and don't believe he's ever been on an expedition this grand, though he's done quite a few field research endeavors. Still nothing like this. So he's going to take it all in and chit-chat with really anybody that is willing or doesn't actively resist. And he's going to basically do a little bit of tourist activity around the city as well if he gets some free time.
That sounds absolutely like a plan. And yes, everybody's time is near as we know their own until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, when the big meeting in the roast room is set to occur. So a night on the town in the Big Apple sounds. Yep, that sounds perfect.
And he's got his own personal camera that he's going to be sure to take lots of photos for the family back home.
Okay, so I think to start off with, we'll roll the camera forwards with the group departing back through the warehouse at the front of the dock, out into into New York traffic, probably splitting for a while, since Susan is presumably walking back with her team. And I'm guessing the remaining three are going to cabit the 10 blocks. So given that it's at least now the temperature has ameliorated itself a little bit, is everybody perhaps walking?
Stoddard's going to walk because he wants to, along the way back, he wants to find... Oh, wait, no, it's prohibition. I can't do what I was going to say. Never mind. I was going to have him find a decent quality scotch to bring along for celebration at appropriate points on the mission. But we're in prohibition. You can't do that.
Yeah, unless you have contacts.
Come on, Scott, you walk with me. I'll even let you hold the lead.
Oh, yeah, no, he'll totally walk. He'll pretend to be grudging about holding the lead. He's secretly delighted.
I definitely understand Stoddard's interest in finding some medicine. I would love to see if I can roll psychology, see if maybe I can spot someone who might have connections. Or spot hidden, your call?
I think I'm going to be harsh here and say that what I'm probably looking for is Survival City.
I do not have Survival City, so...
But...
I think that's just a straight one. No, it's 10.
Yeah, it's a straight 10.
It's a straight 10. Okay. Well, we're going to roll psychology, but it's the same number.
So actually, we're talking about contacts. Even under prohibition, we know what academia gets like.
And besides, it's only the sale that's illegal. So
right. So would Stoddard actually have have an academic contact in town that might be willing to help him celebrate when they find something momentous?
I was just about to suggest either contacts or even perhaps a credit rating check if you want to be a little spicy.
I can for this one with that I can see a credit rating. If you don't have sort of a non-written background to pull out of a hat, as it were.
Yeah, you can get anything for the right price, especially in New York, eh?
And you're certainly going to be making your way down from the Hudson down into Midtown. You're probably going to pass by at least one of the schools and certainly a couple of the bigger museums. So there's from an academia viewpoint, and of course there's the public library. No end of interesting people may be found in those. So yeah, I'd give a credit rating roll would work.
Sure, worst that's going to happen is I fail. Definitely do not pass that credit check.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Well, it's all this being called the Call of Cthulhu side of BRP. All that really means is you do manage to acquire a bottle of something. It is a brown liquid that certainly is alcoholic. How good it is for celebrating major events.
We're going to be cold enough. We'll deal with it.
It's okay. Knowing our luck, we'll probably turn into a Molotov when we get down there.
Oh. I approve of everything. Not Dr. Wigglesworth, but I did.
And you had at least Dr. Wigglesworth and possibly anybody else who cares to join him take the opportunity to head out for a stroll around Midtown Manhattan on a weekday night, and it's as vibrant and as smelly as you might imagine, given that we're still in an era where motor traffic and horse traffic is about 50-50 on the roads. The roads, the main avenues at least, being wide enough that traffic isn't really an issue. But as you head down side streets, the crowds are truly fearsome in their multitudes.
Yeah, maybe he can get a taxi to take him around some of the sightseeing areas on a bit of a speed run. He can take some photos. If not, he might consider his luck on the sidewalks and just try to find some sort of a local dive or catch a show, maybe something to say that he was able to do in New York. That seems a little unique.
Yeah. So we cut scene into the musical number from On the Town. As various places are visited in short order, and a pleasant night is certainly had without any real incident. I would, however, ask the Doctor to give me a spot hidden roll in the midst of it all.
All right. I'm going to click the skill and then I'll look at it, because whenever I look at the physical dice, they always taunt me. What I get? Did I win?
Oh, hard. Nice. I was going to say, I'm looking at practically a wall of red here, and so a light green is a nice change. And you're standing in line at the ticket booth, one of the theaters just off 42nd Street, when you notice a large Cadillac pull up, and out of the back of which the door is opened by a doorman, swirls a very elegant young lady, mid-20s probably, as she heads in to to the theatre, and you catch a little bit of excited whispers from the other people in line. And you catch the name Acacia Lexington. And you do see her sort of in the shadows from the stalls where you're at in one of the boxes. But she leaves just before the finale number.
Do I recognize the name?
I'd say that's probably another credit rating roll.
Alright, why not?
Did you say her first name again?
Acacia.
Okay, I did hear that right.
I looked at the physical dice.
Yeah. I mean, clearly a socialite of some kind, just from bearing and opulent demeanor, as it were.
Probably some local celebrity, I shrug.
Stefan, I have a question. The player has a question.
Yeah.
Is that the same name that I picked up last time? I believe
That is the same name.
Okay, just checking.
So when notes are compared, extra information may be forthcoming, as it were. So yes, I don't know if would you have been out on the town with Dr. Wigglesworth or Miss Russo?
I've got fairly high luck. We can see if that will work or not.
Yeah.
Where did I go? That is 4. So I think currently we're having a very nice show. Currently,
Mr. Russo, I insist you must join us for this Broadway spectacle.
Absolutely, I need something to do. That's Acacia Lexington. I found out that Starkweather led an expedition with her. And apparently it went quite awry.
Oh, that is most unfortunate. What was the circumstance?
Well, that depends on who you talk to. The official story is that he saved them from starvation or being lost or whatever they were doing in the middle of Africa. But rumor has it that they were in trouble because of his lack of planning. So we'll have to see. I wonder what she's. I didn't really look into her background. Apparently, she's. I wonder if she's from New York. I'll have to look into that.
Good eyes and ears, Valentina. It's no wonder you have the position you're in. I should hope your story is quite something after all this.
Well, the only thing one can do is hope.
Well, the Arctic itself may be frozen, but it's fertile soil for a story like this. I imagine it will be a breakthrough for your career, for a good many of ours, in different respects. How's the musical?
Well, the musical is actually pretty decent. It's not top line Billboard stars, but they're certainly up to snuff. It appears that this season's New York composers are on a roll.
All right. Well, I don't think the professor would know much the difference. He hardly gets a chance to do anything like this even around Boston or local, let alone in New York. So he's having a great time. He's clapping way before he should be, and well after he probably should have stopped.
So I looked up, out of character, I looked up what shows were on Broadway in 1933. And in the homage to Indiana Jones, I would like to propose that he went to see HMS Pinafore, which was being staged at this time, was in the rotation at the time.
Yep. No,
No.
absolutely. It's absolutely a it's HMS Pinafore. The male contralead is absolutely the very model of a modern major general. And certainly it does. You do find yourself, as Dr. Wentworth suggests, just slightly out of pace with the piece, because when you're not used to a Gilbert and Sullivan folly, trying to keep up with there's a phrase for Italian opera sung at a high pace. I can't bring to mind now, but yes, the sheer speed of delivery in a Gilbert and Sullivan musical piece takes a little bit of getting used to. But it's certainly an enjoyable piece, and well performed at that. And since this is New York, there's even no need for the male lead to be suffering the angst of his heroin addiction, which would be the correct period way of dealing with it in the UK for the company back there. But yes, the night passes. You're back at the hotel, and the following morning, so I can get the right one. Yes, finds everybody, and by everybody, I mean everybody, gathered in the Rose Room, where Starkweather and Moore have set up an office of sorts. They're sitting down at their office desks. The group of investigators have managed to get in a little bit early, so you've nabbed the chairs around the main table, upon which are stacked pitchers of coffee, urns of tea or tea water, breakfast items, sort of the usual hotel style convention breakfast spread. And Starkweather stands up, his tall and charismatic frame, his flowing back black hair, and his noble profile, twirling his mustache. Well, it's grand to see you all here, and as we're about to embark on the most noble and great adventure that this decade has seen, short of perhaps our predecessors, it is so good to see everybody here. Especially, I would like to thank Miss Russo for being kind enough to take up our invitation to join us on this travels, so that they may be properly documented for posterity. We have nothing but greatness ahead of us. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but please, there is a lot to do, so I will give what information I can at this point, since we are heading into unknown lands. A lot is by necessity unknown, but we are going to be departing New York on September 14th, in a little under 2 weeks' time. Travel via the Panama Canal to Melbourne, where we can refuel and reposition. And we should be ready to make landfall in the Ross Sea as early as November 1st, if the ice pack permits. We'll be using aircraft for our main transportation, just like our predecessors of the Miskatonic University expedition. For this end, we've managed to procure 3 of the most modern large fast aircraft, Boeing 247s. They should be arriving in just a few days. We also have, as have several of our preceding expeditions, a Fairchild FC2 that we can use for mapping and exploration of the Ross Ice Shelf. We hope to gain 3 semi-permanent camps. One on the shore of the Ross Sea will act as a base camp for the aeroplanes, and at this point he's rolled up the handout map on a chartboard behind him, and he's taken out the traditional 4-foot pointy stick as he indicates the locations. The second will erect near the site of Percival Lake's last great discoveries, if the site can be found. And the third, the forward base for exploration, will be located on the ancient high plateau described by Dyer as on the far side of the Miskatonic Mountains. And he basically points straight into the middle of the large white space. Many exploratory flights will be planned. Gabrielle carries enough aircraft fuel to fly each of the planes around the world. We will then leave Antarctica on or before February 1st. The mortal remains of the deceased Miskatonic expedition members, if they can be found, will be brought home, along with as many of the bones and artifacts from Lake's camp as possible. Dr. Moore? Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Starkweather. It is going to be quite an onerous task, but we've been planning for months and are very excited to be in the final stages of execution before we set off. If there's any questions, feel free to air them here, or you can come and see me personally. I will be working either from in here or on ship, where I know I met some of you in the last few days. Now, Mr. Starkweather, he says, indicating the Antarctic map. plans to return north on February 1st. But I think we can fill in quite a bit of this before then, don't you? In any case, we shall try to cover as much territory as we can whilst we're out there. Now, we will be sharing the continent with 3 other expeditions. They have their own itineraries, of course, and Mr. Starkweather wishes to stay out of their way wherever possible. As far as I know, none of them have plans to push inland across the Miskatonic Mountains. There is an expedition led by the inestimable Dr. Bird, who's returning to the Antarctic, who's going to be setting off on the berg shelf. We believe with the intent of pushing towards achieving a semi-permanent camp up the pole. There is another private expedition, the Ellsworth expedition, which is going to, we believe, make their way to the Weddell Sea. So we will be a whole continent away from them. I don't believe that we will see any trace of them. And then there is the Barsmeyer Falcon expedition, I believe due to head out to Bremerhaven in about a month's time. We don't know a whole lot about what their aims are, but as one can imagine, it's not easy keeping expeditions of our nature much of a secret. And in fact, Miss Russo, yet again, thanks. We have been eager to lean upon the benefits that good publicity can bring us. Now, with that, gentlemen, ladies, if you would care to raise your coffee cups to success.
To success.
Success.
Here, here, here. Success.
Now, 2 weeks and a little bit less remain before we set sail. That isn't much time. And I'm afraid some things have rather fallen through the cracks. Between now and then, I'll be calling on each of you to lend your expertise towards our successful departure. I do trust you're all willing to help in this. I've drawn up a number of lists, and there will doubtless be more when these are finished. And he takes out a large folio and just dumps it on the table in front of him. And he starts going through the members of the expedition and handing out lists of tasks to be done or things to be inspected. I guess my question is there anybody in the group that is going to actively try to avoid being delegated any tasks?
No, Stoddard will take his tasks. He was also going to probably use the time to, if there, the downtime before we leave, in basically investing it, like getting, yes, there's being supplies, but make sure his whatever he has for his own gear, or get some, like, make sure he's got good cleats, make sure he's got a good pair of gloves, like just a couple, like some of the little odds and ends that he's like, these are the things that I don't want to leave chance.
Absolutely.
I would probably be actively seeking out extra tasks.
Certainly. And not much, yes, and that is not going to be a problem, as it were. I'm just looking down.
I would like to know how good Wigglesworth's poker face is, because I know he was trying to do logistic stuff and trying to get things done and being like, no, things are fine. So I want to know how good his poker face is.
Well, frankly, he's quite surprised. He thought that better men than him were preparing these sorts of things, but if they're calling upon him now for help, he's going to be quick to go into work mode, as some of his colleagues put it.
Also, Valentino will do what she can to help, but at some point before we leave, she wants to look into that Acacia Lexington, a little more background there, whether it's at night or whatever.
Certainly. Second. So let me hand out. So between the four of you this morning, did that make its way where it should? Yes. If you look in the New York folder of the campaign notes, there is an Equipment Manifest 7.
Okay.
Which is basically the the initial set of materials that you're asked to take a look at. So there's areas both on the planes that have yet to arrive. So the first two items, the canvas plane covers and the heating hoods for the engines, when you get to the ship, are nowhere to be found for the simple reason that the planes themselves are, from what you hear, out in Trenton, New Jersey, and need to be shipped to the ship side. So the pilot, the expedition pilot, one Mr. Halperin, and the mechanic, Mr. Miles, are set to go off to Trenton today to start seeing to that. There's then the rest of the gear is apparently, supposedly, in various locations on the upper decks of the midship superstructure. So you've got the deck house, you've got the doctor's cabin, you've got the ship's master engineer's office, and then finally the bosun's stores.
So, is this supposed to be all of the supplies that happen, or is this just for one section? Because I've noticed there's like nothing for can't make some supplies or fuel.
This is just one random sheet from the big folio that Dr. Moore is basically handing out to people, seemingly more or less at random.
Presumably there are at least 6 other manifests.
Yes. I was just thinking that rather than giving everybody their own manifests and circling over the same storyline 4 or 5 times, for flavor, doing it as a group activity feels, or a possibly split party-ish, depending, of course, if people go off to Trenton or not.
No, you read through this list. I think I can see where my character is going to be. But I like this approach.
And you do get to the benefit with hanging around up in the superstructure is that you do get quite chummy with the ship's senior officers. So the bosun, the senior mate, Peter Sykes, you already met.
Excellent. Chums and pals we shall be for all of our days.
Indeed.
They may not be alumni, but we'll treat them like one.
And you do run into a few issues, unsurprised. Well, you wish it wasn't, unsurprisingly, but there does seem to be some issues. So, starting off with the perhaps most egregious, which is that the box for the harmonicas has been broken into, and there is no sign of the 2 instruments. Clearly an act of insidious sabotage.
This is what Dyer was on about. It's begun.
One should. I will leave it at the investigator's discretion if they wish to head out on the town and randomly acquire a couple of harmonicas for the ship's supplies.
I mean, it'd be horrible if we were without harmonicas. I'll go pick up a harmonica.
And thus was the sanity of the campsite saved.
Watch that really matter. Yeah.
I mean, you never know. We're going to get 20 sessions in and have to be playing harmonicas to keep the elder things away.
Right.
As long as there's no white dudes with acoustic guitars, we're good.
I mean, you have 2 guitars, and trust me, this group is probably mostly white.
Wigglesworth.
Yeah, I missed the guitars, you're right. Oh no.
There may be instances of kumbaya.
It's okay, they're emergency fuel. I am definitely entertained by the idea of someone playing harmonica in the Arctic, though.
Well, you have to be careful. The risk of freezing the harmonica to your mouth is substantial.
Never mind it being so cold you break the reed the first time you try to play it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing for the guitar as well. There's no way you can press on strings effectively without just destroying your fingers. Can't even take gloves off.
Could just mean that our expedition commander is not good at their job.
Well, I suppose maybe indoors with some amount of heat, there's a place to take off the gloves, and that might be a place to store it and use it. But anyways, Wigglesworth equally shudders at the idea of a used harmonica, as well as one that is frozen to your lips in the Arctic. Neither sound particularly pleasant. So seeing these as not necessities, he's going to stick to the scientific equipment, I imagine.
And speaking of the scientific equipment, you find neither hide nor trace of the case of astronomy instruments.
Oh, goodness.
Someone
making a list of all this, the missing stuff.
You walk all the way up. You go over to the warehouse, shipside, and you look all over, but nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to make note of that, and then meticulously go through all the other equipment and make sure that it's cataloged properly.
Apart from that, everything appears to be as ordered, apart from the final item, which is the crate of the 6 caustic soda canisters.
Oh boy.
Is it missing, or is it just or is it damaged?
It's always the caustic containers that are missing.
It's missing, but perhaps slightly more concerningly, it was signed into the warehouse, but there is no sign of it. The astronomy instruments haven't even been signed into the warehouse.
Oh man, that's really suspicious. This is no good. I'm going to point at the manifest.
Who signed for the caustic soda crate?
Stevedore number 37. Dr. Wigglesworth, are you raising the complaint to just the rest of the group or to anybody in particular or anybody at random?
Well, in the moment it was local to whoever was immediately around me, but after I'm finished cataloging and making my notes, I'm going to go over to Bill, Professor Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to present him with the information and say, what's going on here? We got, people presenting before and after we're missing equipment. Some of this is signed in, but not out. Some of this never got signed in the first place. What's going on here?
Well, at least I know what's going on with the astronomy equipment because that's safely in my room back at the hotel. I just plain forgot to bring it along. I thought it was fragile enough that I'd best carry that myself. So apologies for sending you on that wild goose chase.
That is one mission, or one mystery solved. I feel a bit better, but still.
As for the caustic soda, we'll just resupply that. We have
can't be serious, though. We have to investigate this. This is hazardous material.
Oh, things get misplaced and mislabeled all the time through the ports here.
Well, can't we follow the last record of shipment? Was it delivered at least?
It was, yeah. The caustic soda was delivered to the dockside warehouse, but you go to the space that the loading bill indicates on the shelves inside, and it's just blank.
Well, we ought to make some efforts to find them if you're convinced it's so simple. But I suppose the resupply is in order.
Making sure we have the supplies is priority one. Working out what happened to them is secondary. We've only got 2 weeks before we set sail, and being undersupplied is going to be worse than anything else.
I can understand your concern and agree with your reasons, but you can understand my perspective as well. I had seen
absolutely
whole things missing. I was worried perhaps we had someone who was thieving equipment, and that may be a worse thing for us in the long run, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, perhaps I should have rang as soon as I noticed the equipment was missing. I feel silly having gone through everything so thoroughly. Might have saved him some time.
Better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. Absolutely.
Still, it's good to know you have the astronomy equipment.
Let's see, where is that one? Oh. But thank you for taking the time to take a look.
Certainly, you should have come forward sooner to tell me you needed help. I'm glad to be of assistance. Wigglesworth is going to go for the next.
Actually, Edward, there is something. There is something else you can help me out with.
Please.
I've got quite. I recognize this is quite the request, but we've managed to engage the services of J.B. Douglas, the Captain Gabrielle. Commander Douglas, you may know, was the master of the Miskatonic Expeditions vessel Arkham. We're delighted to have him, of course, but the commander is a very private man and wants nothing to do with the press or the public view. If possible, what I would like you to do is make yourself available to the commander and see to any needs that he may have. He's due to be arriving on the 6th and has reserved rooms at the Westbury Hotel. If you would meet him there that evening after he arrives, I would be most appreciative. We want to extend him every courtesy. Please don't tell anybody about the commander. We've promised him that his accommodations will be kept from the press, and no one will bother him before the expedition sets sails. Mr. Starkweather wishes to announce Douglas is hiring himself, but of course we're not going to do that until closer to departure.
I'd be honored. I'll see to it personally, Bill. I'll shake his hand after writing down the information on my notepad.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else?
No, and he's going back to looking through his files. But yes, thank you yet again. And so, the evening of the 2nd, back at the Amersham Hotel. Or the Amherst Hotel, rather. That one. Nope. Sorry. Wrong map. There we go. Anybody have any plans for the night, or is it going to probably be an evening in?
What time is this captain arriving? Is that tomorrow night?
He's arriving on the 6th. So you're on the evening of the 2nd at the moment.
Very good. Okay, a few days then.
Well, Suze would not have prohibition so much as a thing up in Alaska, so she would probably go out looking for something of a medicinal purpose.
Oh, certainly. I'm going to say just roll a luck roll.
That'll work. It's a hard?
Oh,
Damn your charm.
yeah. Something about that out of town accent just, well, I think what happens is that Susan lets slip she's part of the expedition, and to just the right doorman of the right inconspicuous bar front, as it were, and ends up spending some time up in the low hundreds block, so lower Harlem, having a grand old time.
Fantastic. I will also make a point to bring a bottle of whiskey home with me, specifically for Stoddard.
Perfect. And as I'm sure you noticed, yes, there will also be, there are medicinal, or some medicinal supplies in the doctor's office on board ship. Yeah, 1 case, 24 bottles, various medicinal liquor.
It's herbal.
It won't work.
There's more than likely at least one of those, yes. Failing that, at least an aquavit of some kind. And we will move forward to the morning of the 3rd. Where there is a article in the New York Post, which you can find as handout P5 in the notes section. If somebody would care to read it out.
Sure. Commander Douglas to join expedition. Famed sea captain returns to Antarctic waters. New York. Commander J.B. Douglas, famed sea captain and former master of the brig Arkham, will return to Antarctic waters later this year. James Starkweather, world explorer and leader of the forthcoming Starkweather-Moore expedition to Antarctica, announced today that Douglas has agreed to come out of retirement and captain the expedition ship on their voyage of discovery. Commander Douglas will be an invaluable addition to our expedition, Starkweather said. Not only does he have personal knowledge of many of the dangers and hazards of the South Pole, but he is an accomplished explorer and adventurer. The expedition will benefit greatly from his expertise of the harsher climates and his keen, inquiring mind. I look forward to providing this country's most noteworthy scientists with a means to enrich our understanding of the natural world. Douglas, a 25-year-old veteran, Douglas, a 25-year veteran of the Merchant Marines, was sailing master of the Arkham on his 1930 voyage to the Antarctic with the now famous Miskatonic expedition. He retired from the sea in 1932. Commander Douglas could not be reached for comment. Starkweather has promised interviews with the commander beginning on September 7th by appointment.
Not surprisingly, during the breakfast meeting in the Olive Room, that is quite the bus. There's quite the bus on that story. James Starkweather is basically confirms the news and reiterates that Commander Douglas is going to be a great boon to the expedition as somebody who has seen it all and done it all before. Nothing particularly else. Nothing particularly else happens at the meeting, unless there's any questions for any of the group at large that anybody has that they wish to raise.
Nope.
Well, are there any more preparations that need to be done? Yeah, I mean, without getting into all the specifics of how many manifest logs, I want to get a sense of how other companies or groups are doing, assisting with the preparations.
So the piece of the day is Equipment Manifest 5.
do have dynamite.
I had a moment where I went, why would we want to quit setting cement? And I went, we're putting up semi-permanent structures after drilling into the ground. That actually does make sense. So, how bad is the inventory matchup today?
Well, this one is not as nicely matched as the previous one. Just quickly glancing ahead. So, starting off with, you're basically spending the day in the warehouse, going through and checking things off. Most things look okay, but for example, you don't find any of the quick drying cement in question. And you'd think, well, 40 bags of cement must, you can't mislay 40 bags of cement. But you find neither hair nor hide of them. You do see that a crate with that invoice number was delivered to the warehouse, and it takes quite a while to track that crate down. When you do find it, it contains a spare rudder assembly. Fortunately, getting hold of quick drying cement is really just a case of finding a building supplies company, which is not that difficult in central New York City. Plenty of those out in the surrounding area.
So I'm sorry, do we have an extra rudder assembly then? Or
no, when you look back up the list, you realize that it's the same number, the same tracking number against both the spare rudder and rudder assembly and the cement.
Okay.
So it seems that quite possibly it was just as somebody was going through the pile of paper of what to order, two sheets got stuck together and it got passed over. The propeller is where it's supposed to be, bolted down on the aft deck of the ship. Together with the raft built of oil drums. So perhaps more interestingly for the investigators, the cases of ammonia gelatin dynamite have not arrived at the warehouse. They have clearly been ordered and paid for. And I imagine that it's one of the more academically inclined people in the group that ends up calling the supplier which is a company called Giordano's out of Newark. And they acknowledge that they have indeed received the order for both the for the dynamite and also for the electric blasting caps. But there is a problem in that there is a New Jersey law that states that anybody buying explosives has to have a state license. And apparently several letters have been sent to Mr. Starkweather regarding this, but they've had no response.
Okay, that's a phone call.
I'm going to recommend. I think the slightly metagame here, but maybe Susan wants to get some herbal tinctures for the good doctor with what he's dealing with.
I can do what I can.
Actually, yeah, if we're all working on this, we would be aware that he's going through this. So, yeah, Star would be like, I think our doctor might need a medicine refill after all this inventory work.
Definitely understand that. I have a bar that I think we could all get in, but keep it under your hat.
Works good for the old bones. He'll say, drawing his shoulders forward.
Yep.
I just was hoping more of this preparation would be covered in advance.
And to make matters perhaps worse, if I could have Edward roll an intelligence roll, please.
Okay. Yeah, he is suspect that all this missing equipment across the board. That seems highly suspect in his mind, but let's see what that intelligence roll looks like. Don't look. Oh no, it's still. I guess I looked at the end and it's still not good.
Oh shit!
I don't really know if this is a push roll thing. What would you think about a push roll here, Mr. Keeper?
I would be happy to see a pushed roll. I'm going to keep the failure risk on my own. Yes.
Since Sophie need to come across at a different angle, perhaps he gets Ms. Russo's assistant as someone with investigative background who has a thought about where, in terms of figuring out what's going on here.
Am I trying to do something, or am I?
No, you're trying to recognize something in the manifest.
Could I possibly roll education instead? That is my much better stat. Just because that has something to do with overwork.
Since you've got everybody there, I'll even give you a bonus die for it.
Oh man, I feel really bad now. Okay. How do I roll with a bonus die?
You know what? It's been a hot second. I believe you can write.
Oh. There we go. Magic of right click. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking. Yeah, see, they tried to give me a 90 on one of those physical dice. Look at these guys. This is insane. Stop it with the 90s over here.
So, you're just about to get off the phone with this particularly Newarky New Jerseyan when you recognize that he was talking about the electric blasting caps as well. And you just happen to have glanced down and see that, oh, we need non-electric blasting caps because of the cold.
So did we order the wrong product essentially?
It looks like you ordered the correct, but their record, Giordani's record of the order is wrong.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to clarify with them whether they're electric or non-electric blasting caps, and then also confirm which ones we need, and then move to resupply as per our priorities.
Yeah, and no confusion.
So we are looking for non-electric blasting caps. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get a supplier for that, and I'll explain our situation. Possibly that we'll have to resolve it. What, post-expedition, or someone I can refer them to in the meantime? Because we're kind of getting ready to go, aren't we?
They can have it. Now that you're aware that somebody needs to run down to the one of the a local courthouse across the river in New Jersey and have somebody rubber stamp a permit. That gets taken care of basically.
Okay. Well, if there's no one else in the meantime, I'll do it myself because Edward will be a team player.
At this point, also, if you don't do it, who's to say they're going to get the right permit at this point? I feel like
they're certainly not going to kick it back to the people that gave it to me.
I think just for flavor, I'm going to ask for a library use roll. The paranoia player in me would go for a bureaucracy roll at this point, but
that works for Delta Green too.
It would work in laundry files.
Seems like it works in perhaps a bit too many games.
So for what it's worth, laundry files is kind of like Delta Green is obviously based on Call of Cthulhu. Laundry files split the difference, but it's Call of Cthulhu if you're in a bureaucracy designed to be as inefficient as possible.
So SCP?
Predates SCP.
Well, yeah, but
Failure.
Not to derail this too much. Definitely recommend the series. It's a good modern dark comedy horror. Mm.
So with that, it's not so much that Edward fails at obtaining the correct pieces of paper. It's just that he gets tied up in line behind the lady renewing her automotive tax payments without actually having any of the paperwork for her vehicle. There's the house seller that doesn't have a deed that they're trying to pass on. It just spends hours standing in queues at the Jersey City courthouse. By the time it's over.
Okay, well, I eagerly await my turn to get through this next piece of preparation.
And with that said, the rest of that manifest is taken care of and is ticked off, and is all good. So it's quite possible that at least parts of the group are heading to the now familiar uptown speakeasy. The doorman starts to recognize people as they arrive. It's a work hard, play hard kind of day.
Just how Edward likes it. Yep. He's running around town, making his notes, likely reviewing his geological surveys and previous expedition reports in all these quote down hours, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it takes to keep him focused, he's already jumped over into work mode.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, Valentino, could I have you make a library use roll, please?
Absolutely. That's not good. Wow.
So many 80s and 90s today. Crazy.
Yeah. Quest Portal is not feeling happy today.
Wow. I mean, I'm willing to push that roll if you think it's a good idea.
No, I would. This is more a flavor thing than anything else. But you're not having much luck in what little time off hours you have coming up with more details of Miss Lexington.
Okay. One of these, maybe the next day, I might try to cut out early and head to the New York Post to go through their archives and stuff.
Absolutely.
Set some more purposeful times aside to work on that.
So, speaking of the morning of September 4th, your rooms are on the 4th floor of the Amersham Hotel, and the Rose Room and the rooms of Starkweather and Moore are up on the 5th. Even so, you're awakened, or, well, you're probably up anyhow, but it's about 7:30, so half an hour before the gathering is supposed to be in the Rose Room. And you can hear a very loud banging coming from upstairs.
I'm going to go check it out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're right behind Big Sue's. See what's doing.
And I'm behind Valentina. Just in case anything goes wrong.
Make sure Sue's a bullet.
Absolutely. So you make your way up the stairway, which is sort of in the middle of the single hotel room corridor. And even as you're making up your way up the stairs, you hear Starkweather's voice, but it's got an edge to it this morning. More! Blast you, man! I want you awake! More! Blast it! More! This is beyond. And as you come up the stairs, you see Starkweather, half dressed, one slipper, hair completely askew, shoulder barge the door to Moore's room, breaking it open. It's her, Moore. All the time it was her. I should have known. What else could it have been? The conniving witch. I should have suspected her hands in things from the beginning. Blast it, Moore, listen to me. How else could she stop me? Who else would have switched those can of fish with oil? Who else has the money to spy on us? Throw things in our way, ruin our goods, sabotage the dog cages, delay our trains, poison the mind of my trusted employees, to bribe, to steal, to throw barricades before us for spiteful reasons. I won't allow it, Moore. Not this time. She won't get the upper hand this time. I'll prove to everyone that she's nothing more than a... At that point, he looks around and sees the fact that there's people starting to gather. He stops mid-sentence. Advance the schedule, Moore. We're leaving on the 9th. The 9th. See to it. And he just walks out. And walks past you without a word.
All right, everyone. Show's over. Back to your quarters. Off to bed now. And I'm going to try to get the door shut to give.
As you do, you see Moore sitting quietly on the edge of the bed in his room, picking up some newspapers that apparently Starkweather was holding. He glances at the open page, goes visibly still, and sighs, straightens up his glasses. Well, gentlemen, you heard Mr. Starkweather. The schedule is advanced. We now leave on the 9th. I shall see you at breakfast. We'll have to work a bit harder, I'm afraid. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must dress. And he hands them the newspaper, which in this case is note P6. Lexington heads south. If somebody would mind reading.
Yeah, I'll go for it. Flip over.
Oh, and apologies for people with headsets on that one.
That's all right. It was somewhat dramatic. I could hear every thump on the door, as if it were right near my own face. Lexington sets sights south, published September 4th, 1933. Blonde beauty to flied pole. New York, INS. In a startling announcement from her home in Queens today, millionaire industrialist Acacia Lexington told reporters that she intends to set aside ledger books in favor of seal furs and snow goggles in an attempt to be the first woman to stand at the bottom of the world. Lexington, only child of the late P.W. Lexington of the city, has for years impressed friends and adversaries alike with her skilled maneuvering in troubled financial waters. Now she intends to venture into a new realm, accompanied by a hand-picked team of journalists, photographers, and wilderness experts. The lovely Acacia will cross the Antarctic wastelands in a specially modified Northrop Delta aeroplane and a Sierra C-50 autogyro. It's about time a woman did this, quote-unquote. She told our reporters, today's women are capable of anything that men can do. If I am the first, it only means that others will find it easier to follow, unquote. When asked if her planned expedition was in any way affected by the presence of no less than 4 other parties on the Antarctic ice this summer, Miss Lexington declined to comment.
Valentina's reading that over your shoulder, and she just says, "Boy, this story just got a whole lot more interesting."
Well,
I
it certainly
try
does.
to hire Suze away from us if that's her motive stuff around her. Glad we still got you.
I wouldn't go anyway.
It may explain some of the missing cargo. If what he's saying is true, I'll raise an eyebrow over to more.
Well, there's certainly a risk that he has it right. But still, with the new schedule, we can't let that stand in our way. Now we just need to be ready.
We'll talk it over breakfast in the morning. Everyone's had a long night.
And at breakfast, perhaps not surprisingly, Starkweather is not present. Moore appears fairly unruffled. There's some questions about Acacia, and he only states that Miss Lexington and Mr. Starkweather do have a long-standing disagreement. Please do not concern yourselves. It's a personal thing. Also, somewhat later in the day, so in the afternoon edition, there is let's have a look here and see. Just a quick question at this point, looking aside into the backup character set. Do we have any thought as to what Eunice is?
Yeah, like her backstory, character, that sort of thing? Or do you mean where she is?
No, backstory-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I put anything down on the character already. No, I think I'd have to pull it from Wigglesworth. Let me see. Okay. So I still need to write up the bio, but Eunice's story is that she is a star pupil of Wigglesworth, also in the field of geology, mineralogy, and she's still learning a lot, but she has a lot of spunk and a lot of promise, and there's just something about her that's different than other students. She's adventurous in a way that's uncontainable.
Perfect. So with that, there is a article in the afternoon edition of the Globe. Woman of education adds poise to Starkweather expedition. New York. Action France Press. Captain James Starkweather, leader of the Starkweather-Moore Antarctic expedition, divulged the latest addition to his excursion to the South Pole today.
Eunice Miles.
Thank you. Miss Eunice Miles, geologist and cum laude graduate, is the newest member of the team. Captain Starkweather expressed his concern that intelligent and talented women not be excluded from scientific ventures as his upcoming journey of exploration, and announced that he wished to do his part in advancing the enlightenment of the age. I was only too happy to honor Miss Miles' request with an invitation to the Antarctic expedition, he told reporters today in his suites at the Amherst Hotel. Her credentials as an educated member of the scientific community are excellent, and I am sure she will be a valuable member of the team we have assembled for this voyage. Professor William Moore, the expedition's other head, could not be reached for comments. Now, given the accelerated pace, you are given extra items to cross-check, but the day is actually, it's a list where mostly the foodstuffs and the discrepancies that there are slight and clearly just clerical mistakes. The most noticeable one is that somebody had seemingly misread somebody's handwriting, and 20 pounds of sugar was delivered as 20 pounds of salt.
Still useful.
Still useful.
Susan might be sad about that coffee, but we should not turn our noses up at an extra 20 pounds of salt.
I know a good use for salt. I just don't want it in my drink.
Like legit. Like when you do survival prep, one of the things you need to make sure you have is salt. Plus, you know, still. So I assume we're kind of running around and getting things fixed. Getting the sugar should be less of an issue. Is Stoddard able to? Well, also, is the cold weather gear that's being tailored to us going to make it?
It is time indeed for the snowshoes and gloves to arrive, and they do, and perhaps surprisingly to everyone, they actually fit.
I will take that. I mean, I don't know. I just knew that there was dealing with cold weather gear. So more specifically, Stoddard was basically sort of. I mentioned that he kind of wanted to put together and examine his own kit. Does he have a chance to basically make sure he's got, like kind of the cleats? He has, he had his own gloves. He had like the basics. He has just kind of the. Yes, there's expedition. I want to make sure, I've got some rope. I've got a good pair of gloves. Was able to find time to try to make sure he had non-company issued basics, not extravagant basics.
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to ask Valentino to make yet another library use roll, this time with a bonus die, because I am sure that she will have the help of more members of the group in digging stuff up from the New York Times offices about Acacia Lexington.
I put a little post in. That's in Discord now.
So I tried to roll with a bonus die. I don't know if it did or not. It did not what it doesn't look like. So I'll just roll library use again then.
Yeah.
That is worse. Look at that.
86 ain't gonna do it for you.
Look at all the 90s songs. The 80s, 90s.
It's a spread.
I mean, I was going to ask World Survival to check our gear, but maybe I don't.
Our successes do bring it down to a more reasonable average, presumably, but it feels like we failed a whole lot.
Yeah.
I do. Okay.
We're getting them out of here early.
Yet again, it just means that there's time taken to do this.
Well, I mean, I think that she'd be a little frustrated that she hadn't found anything yet about this. Didn't see this coming in any of her research, so I would think she would push that role. So
Sure.
That's okay with you?
Oh, absolutely.
No, what does that do? That's a regular success.
Yeah, that's fine. Just getting things ready. So if we look at the bottom of the notes sections, there are notes 15 through 18. If you want to take one each and read, or however.
I will take 15, I guess.
Okay.
Daring rescue of Eris. Nairobi. The dark continent where the wonders of nature turn on man and prove deadly has shown once again that wherever European man goes, so goes chivalry. Wireless reports out of the Belgian colonies in Africa tell of the daring rescue of our own socialite scamp, Acacia Lexington, by the gallant Englishman Captain James Starkweather. Lovely Lexington has been touring the regions of the darkest Africa, dominated by the mighty Lake Tanganyika.
Yeah.
Savages fight daily with alligators longer than a Duesenberg to ensure the passage of commerce in this wild region. Against the advice of her elders, Lady Lexington insisted upon seeing the fabled giraffe mating grounds of
Iasi.
Under the expert leadership of Captain Starkweather, the band braved the wilderness and arrived at the plains of tall, swaying grasses the giraffes find so compelling for their very survival. The wild beasts, gentled by their own lovely Lady Lexington, came within a few feet of the party without making threatening gestures. Lady Lexington's presence was also compelling that when she came upon a baby giraffe in the grasses, she immediately tamed it and was able to even embrace it briefly before it returned to its herd, earning her the nickname among the savages as the woman whom the giraffes love. On the return trip to Nairobi, sudden rains caught the party crossing a branch of the mighty Nakuru River. The party was nearly lost as savages panicked under the onslaught of rain and river. Brave Captain Starkweather rallied the natives and had them chop trees and fashion rafts to carry supplies to safety. A personal trip by Captain Starkweather to a nearby village procured enough canoes to carry the party across the river. The crossing was treacherous, but under the skilled hand of Captain Starkweather, the entire party made it to port in time for Lady Lexington's return trip to America. We'll all be thanking Captain Starkweather for the safe return of one of the brightest lights of our social season. Hurrah for him and hurrah for chivalry.
July 23rd, 1921, Lexington tragedy. New York. A shocking scene greeted police at the P.W. Lexington mansion on Fifth Avenue today. They came to investigate what appears to be the death of one of New York City's greatest industrialists at his own hand. Percival Woodrow Lexington was discovered in his study dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Police initially suspected foul play from the disheveled nature of the study, but there are obvious powder burns on his head and right hand, said Police Detective Ronald O'Mara. That, coupled with the position of the body and gun, led us towards an self-inflicted wound, than foul play. But his daughter, Acacia, does not agree. Daddy would never kill himself. These fools are looking for an easy answer to keep from doing any real work, the distraught young woman said. I vow I'll find my father's killer and make them pay. Meanwhile, an anonymous Wall Street source has hinted that the Lexington fortunes were severely overextended. The sky in New York society has grown dimmer this evening. With the murky surroundings of this death, surely spurn further inquiry.
From the Globe. From the Globe, July 24th, 1921. Rare manuscript linked to Lexington death. Special. A notice from the estate of Percival Lexington warns rare book dealers to watch out for a missing manuscript that could be linked to foul play on Lexington's recent death. An extremely valuable and rare galley proof of the Edgar Allan Poe book, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, has been reported missing from Lexington's study where his body was found yesterday. Quote, robbery would be a motive for murder, said Police Detective Ronald O'Mara. But the physical evidence points to a different conclusion. The book may show up in a few days. It's very difficult for most families to accept the loss of a loved one in this way. End quote. Issuing the notice was daughter Acacia Lexington, who previously raised suspicions of foul play and a lax attitude by police in investigating this case. Quote, this manuscript is unique. I believe it is involved in my father's death, she said. This manuscript differs greatly from the published version. I fear some collector has killed for it. End quote. The manuscript was to have been sold in a public auction today, along with other rare and valuable items from Percival Lexington's collection. A coroner's report is expected tomorrow. A public service and private family funeral will be held Friday. The public service will be held at St. John the Divine Cathedral at 11 a.m.
And finally, Tegan, if you could do number 18, please.
Pillar Post. July 26, 1921. Heiress denies own tale of murder. New York Associated Press. A startling retraction came today from the daughter of the late industrialist Percival Lexington. Just days after she claimed foul play and police mishandling of the case, Acacia Lexington delivered a very different story after her father's funeral. With the coroner's report and physical evidence, I have no choice but to face the facts about my father's death, Ms. Lexington said. Earlier this week, Lexington claimed that her father's death was linked to the disappearance of a rare manuscript he kept in the study where his body was found. I believe that book is still in my father's library, Ms. Lexington said when asked about her claim. I haven't cataloged the contents of the house to see if anything is missing. When it is done, I'm sure we'll find the book. We know this is a hard time for Ms. Lexington, said Police Detective Ronald O'Mara, who investigated the Lexington suicide. Any suggestions she made earlier will obviously result in the situation, O'Mara said. Percival Lexington was eulogized by several business leaders, including fellow industrialist John D. Rockefeller and esteemed banker John Pierpont Morgan. He was laid to rest in a private ceremony at the family's estate in Suffolk County. Lexington's last will and testament will be read at his attorney's next Wednesday. It is expected that his daughter Acacia will be his sole beneficiary. Questions still remain as to who will run the Lexington enterprise for this young woman.
So clearly there is quite the history between Starkweather and Lexington. And all sorts. And as you return back from the newspaper offices,
and we would, canonically, if we were familiar with the previous expedition notes, actually have some familiarity with him.
yes,
Even if not, because Lovecraft treated, like we've been told that the knowledge of At the Mountains is canonical. Lovecraft treated Poe's novel, which of this manuscript, as being an accounting of something that happened. He cites it cited a lot in. It's referenced in the various accounts of the expedition, or in the expedition that we are repeating.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yes. If there is indeed a contradictory or differing text to that which was originally published, that is very interesting, I would imagine.
Can we look at wrapping possibly? It's getting late.
I am just about to. I just want one more beat in here.
Okay.
Which is actually for Susan. In that, upon having spent a significant portion of the day, somewhat longer than you intended, at the Times offices, you find a note underneath the door to your room, half pushed in underneath the door. And if you look in the handouts, there's P8, Dear Man of Science.
Okay.
And I don't know how easily that is to read, so I can read it if you wish.
That would be nice. It's really tough on my screen.
Yeah. So it says, Dear Man of Science, soon you will go down far away to the wild and white ice and the old things that wait out more and work and plan. Do not. Blessed Mary, hear me beg you to stay. Do not wake the sleeping one there. Do not pass the prison walls of black and white, cold ice and time. The cage must not open. Let the dead and the dying hold close the doors. I have listened to his dreams. I have seen its forms within his mind, for he has seen it and he knows it will be free, and he will stop you if you do. Turn back, or we all die. Signed, a friend. And with that, we're going to wrap up tonight's sessions. Thank you very much, one and all, and we shall see what this adventure holds.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
Very
Thank you.